Hello everyone, I am Florence Siregar and today I'm going to explain my paper. The title is Analysis of Virginia Woolf's Suicide Note, Semantic Forensic Analysis in Forensic Linguistic Perspective. There are three sections that I will explain. The first one is Introduction. Forensic linguistics is the application of linguistic knowledge to a particular social setting, namely the legal forum. One of forensic linguistic area is the language of legal texts. Also state that literally any text or item of spoken language has the potential of being a forensic text. If a text is somehow implicated in a legal or criminal context, then it is a forensic text. This kind of text can be a book, thesis, or even a suicide notes. In this paper, I took a suicide notes of Virginia Woolf. Virginia Woolf was a British writer. She committed suicide in 1941, leaving suicide notes for her sister and her husband. Her suicide note was made public and was misquoted under the misleading headline in newspaper article. This made people at the time misinterpret her suicide note. This analysis aims to prove that the genuineness of Virginia Woolf's suicide notes and investigate the real motive of her suicide with semantic forensic analysis in forensic linguistic perspective. And for the theory, forensic semantic is an analysis of an expert opinion on the meaning of words, phrase, clauses, paragraph, and etc. In a legal, personal, and commercial communication, in whether in paper or electronic form. In this case, forensic semantics can be used to interpret the suicide notes so they can be understood easily. And the data in this analysis were taken from the journey Not the Arrival Matters, an autobiography of the years 1939 to 1969 by Leonard Woolf and Virginia Woolf's handwriter suicide note. The suicide notes were read several times. The clauses, phrases, and sentences were highlighted and analyzed with semantic forensic theory. Move to the discussion. Let's see the structure of Virginia Woolf's suicide note. In the notes, there is no date on the day of the letter and the writer used salutation. For the greetings, there is in both notes, using there is in both notes. And for the content, the first sentence, this is, and suicide note 2, and this is the first sentence. In suicide note 1, the writer started the letter with a friendly pleasantry, which shows that the writer and the address exchange letters regularly. In suicide note 2, the writer started the notes with a statement. And for the body, in personal letter, the writer usually writes about what events that have occurred and what emotion they feel. And we can see that this is the suicide note 1, the body of suicide note 1, and this is the body of suicide note 2. In both suicide notes, the writer wrote about what was happening at the time. The writer seems aware that she was suffering from a mental illness, and it was not the first time she was in the state. For the purpose, in personal letter, people also write about what plans they have for the future or the purpose of writing a letter. As you can see, this is suicide note 1, the purpose, and the purpose of suicide note, this is. And for the final, suicide note 1, this is suicide note 2. In suicide note 1, I have fought against it shows her struggle, yet that met with the strong rebuttal of, but I can't any longer. This is the strong indicator that she was serious about ending her life. In suicide note 2, not the reputation of I don't think two people could have been happier than we have been. The writer ended her note with her name Virginia. Suicide note 2, the writer ended her note with her initial comes to forensic semantic analysis. In this part of analysis, some interesting part of Virginia Woolf's suicide notes were analyzed to investigate the real motive behind her. As you can see this sentence, based on this sentence, we know that the writer was genuinely happy and her condition only worse in the last few weeks before her death. It is said that before she died, she had been unproductive because her condition worsened until she was unable to work. But her last work between the acts was written in 1941, the year of her death. It proves that she still could write even during the Blitz. Her suicide could not have been from by the bills. The writer seems aware that she was suffering from mental disorder based on the sentence, I begin to hear voice and I can concentrate. It was coming to hear the sentence does not seem to show her fear. Instead, it seemed that said voices and disturb her concentration. Those voices might be auditory hallucination, which are one of the symptoms of psychosis that is related to bipolar type 1 disorder. And the sentence you see, I can't even write this properly, I can read. Virginia Woolf did not suffer from blindness, so it cannot be literally meaning. Bipolar disorder is often accompanied by change in cognitive process and abilities. Best explain that cognition is the set of all mental abilities and process related to memory association, concept information, and pattern recognition language. If we link this to this sentence, it is most likely that Virginia Woolf was unproductive and unable to continue her work because of the change in her cognitive process and abilities accompanied by her bipolar disorder. We think this is the main reason of her depression. The next, you have given the sentence, you have given, and the next sentence, you have given the greatest possible happiness. I don't think two people could have been happier than we have been. This sentence makes us curious. If she was happy, then why would she take her own life? Most of the sentences in this note contain positive feeling, yet she still committed suicide. If we link this to the previous assumption that she was suffering from bipolar disorder, it answers the reason behind her mood swing. Anderson at state that bipolar disorder is a mental disorder characterized by periods of elevated mood and periods of depression. In this case, the greatest possible happiness is related to periods of elevated mood, and I feel we can go through another of those terrible times, is related to the period of depression. For the conclusion, based on the forensic semantic analysis, we can conclude that Virginia Woolf's suicidal act was caused by her depression, not because the onset of World War II and the effects of the bills like the local coroner suggest at the time. The results are stronger by seeing the statement of other psychologists that her depression was caused by bipolar disorder that makes, which also accompanied by change in her cognitive process and abilities that made her unable to work and thus leading on to her suicide. I think that's all. Thank you.